Welcome to the Fit Vegan Podcast, the show where we help you optimize your health, fitness, and mindset on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. My name is Maxime Sigouin. I am a former triathlete, powerlifter, bodybuilder, and basketball player, and I've been vegan for over 9 years. I'm also the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, which has helped over 500 vegans from 20 different countries to completely transform their bodies and their health. I'm excited for you to hear today's episode. Let's get into the show. All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Fit Vegan Podcast. Today, I am joined by a Fit Vegan superstar, Thomas Boatman. Thomas, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good. I can see that you liked the term superstar.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure I'm owning it quite yet, but we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you've had tremendous progress. I was just looking up your stats before we started recording. You're down 22 pounds so far.
Yeah. I'm really pleased at the progress I've made over the last several months.
Yeah. So today, I basically want to chat with you about like how your journey went, the ups and downs, because it's obviously a challenging process to go through because it's really difficult to like kind of like deal with our emotions and manage life as we're going through all of these things. And so the first place I like to start is just give the opportunity for people to kind of introduce themselves a little bit and say what they do for work and what their day looks like, because a big assumption is that it's easy for all of our members because that's all they're focusing on, right? Just training, nutrition. Like you have a life, you have a family, you have other things going on. So I'll just let you take the floor and kind of paint the bigger picture of what you're dealing with on top of doing your training nutrition.
Yeah. So I'm a middle-aged middle manager. I work for a company that does educational services, and I manage a contract for them. So I've got a team of people that work to deliver that, and so it's a fairly high pressure kind of work on a day-to-day basis. Get to work a little bit in the office, a little bit at home, and so that's kind of nice. It allows for some flexibility in terms of being able to work with some of the things like prepping meals and things like that too. My gym is at the office, so it does mean that I end up going in more often just to be able to take advantage of the workspace, the workout space that they have there for us. So, got a lovely wife, a couple of grown children that are working their way out of the nest, and so it's a pretty full life.
Yeah, awesome. So you're saying, your work offers you a gym, or is there like, it just happens to be a gym in a building?
No, our work has a specific workout room that they've built up for employees. When I go in, I'm frequently the only one there, but it's got a full set of dumbbells and barbells and some machines, and there's even some Pilates machines and things like that too, for those who are interested in doing some of that, and a lot of treadmills and ellipticals and all of that stuff. So there's a fairly wide variety of things that I can use to get my workouts in.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm really happy to hear that corporations and companies are starting to include that now as a part of the environment. We're actually, fun fact, working on a corporate program soon.
Oh, cool.
Because I think like it is really important in terms of mental health and performance and everyone just enjoying their work environment. So
we can get the cafeteria to make my meals for me. It would be even better,
Working on it. We'll try to build those connections. Awesome. So yeah, Thomas, I'm curious because we did your initial call when you came into the program. You did it with me, which happens very rarely. I take about like one call every 3 months, and yours happened to be that call. Usually we have our goal setting coaches. So I'm curious, where were you at before you wanted to come on the program? Because I remember our first conversation, it was very emotional that you wanted and that you felt like you needed to do this at that point. So like what got you there?
It's interesting that kind of surprised me when we were on the call because I hadn't been, I don't think I'd realized the degree to which I really did want this to work and to find this success until we talked. I've been kind of trying to do something about my overall fitness for the last couple of years and having a little bit of success and a little bit of falling back and, not quite finding the right track. And so that, I think there was enough success to believe I could do it, but a growing awareness that I didn't really know how to do it. About 3 months before I reached out to you for a consulting call, I had run across the Nutrition Facts website and Dr. Greger's research, and realized that whole food plant-based was going to be an important part of this journey for me. I really did need to make that change in my life. And so I started down that path. But again, I didn't really know what I was doing. I wasn't clear on how many calories I should be eating. I wasn't clear on if I was getting the right mix of foods. And so I became very clear I needed more help than that. And then along that time, I ran into your podcasts and started hearing the advice that you were giving and the support that you were giving. And I realized that this program could be a big help to me in figuring out some of those missing keys in order to really get to the success that I've been looking for.
Oh, beautiful. So I didn't know, I'm actually one of the big donors for nutritionfacts.org on a monthly basis. I really love the work that they're doing. So that's awesome that you started with them. They have a lot of great resources and a lot of things that I'm sure you saw in the program. We take a lot from Dr. Greger and his research, and everything is whole food plant-based. So I'm really happy that you seek guidance first, because a lot of people do it wrong when they first go vegan, especially when they go whole food plant-based.
Right.
It's so easy to severely undereat because you're so full, because there's so much fiber and your nutrient receptors are satisfied really quickly. And so really happy you made the switch. So 3 months before, that's when you transitioned to going vegan, or that's when you went from vegan to whole food plant-based?
I know that's when I really started going vegan, and it was a pretty quick transition to from a eating meat at the beginning of a vacation in the middle of March to not by the end of the week. Had a couple of times since then where I hadn't quite gotten the discipline, but now that I've started the program, I'm really focused in on making this a lasting change for my life.
Beautiful. What were the initial changes that you saw in your body and your mindset and your health when you did that transition from the beginning of the week to the end of the week?
Yeah, I felt an energy, a lightness. I just felt less sluggish. I kind of wanted to get up and do more, which wasn't always the case the last couple of years. I've really noticed the amount of antacid I end up using has dropped to nothing. I over the last multiple years, I felt like I was keeping the Tums company in business for a while there. And I don't need to, because the foods I'm eating are agree with me, and they settle well, and I just don't have that as a problem anymore. So that's maybe the one that's been most noticeable to my wife, because she just doesn't hear me getting up at night to go rattle that jar and get a couple of antacids.
Yeah. So how much are you saving on Tums a month?
I haven't done the calculation yet. I should.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. It makes me happy to hear that. So was it originally because of that aspect of your health that you're kind of struggling with digestion and feeling sluggish that made you look into Dr. Greger, nutritionfacts.org, or did you just randomly stumble upon it?
No, I think it was looking for something to get me the right traction. And then as I began to read some of the material that he had produced, I realized that a lot of the things that he recommends, why he recommends people be on a whole food plant-based diet, is all in my family history. I have a brother who had a heart attack when he was 42. And at the hospital, when they were dealing with his heart attack, they asked him about how long he had been diabetic, and he didn't know that he was diabetic at that point. My grandfather died when he was 57 of a heart attack. His father died when he was 57 of a heart attack, and I'm knocking on the door of 57 at this point. And so it just really, for whatever reason, at that point, it crystallized that I got to quit goofing around and really get serious about doing something, because I don't want to die early, and I don't want to live incapacitated because I haven't taken care of myself. You had a podcast that I listened to in June, where you really keyed in on the fact that it really is an act of compassion for us to take care of ourselves, because it's making it so that our families don't have to take care of us down the road. that we really are, which helped me get over some of the idea that this was sort of a selfish thing, that I was wanting to do this for myself. And it was like, well, no, I want to do this because I do want to do it for myself, but I also want to do it for them and the benefit that it will bring to my family. And my wife has joined me in most of the meals that I'm eating, hasn't 100% bought into it yet, but seems to really enjoy it, does a lot of the cooking, and she's actually kind of enjoying trying to figure out how to do vegan baking and keep it sort of within the program. And that's been a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome. It makes me happy to hear that. We talked about this on the group call on Fridays, like the indirect impact of like you being in the program and your family benefiting from it and the people around you. And for the podcast you listened to was one of my favorites to record because it came from a personal experience, but it's also an angle that people don't look at. Right. We have like, you're a parent, notice like it's really hard to put yourself first. And it does feel selfish. It does feel like you are saying indirectly, well, I care more about me than I care about my kids. But the reality, or your partner, but the reality is that, if you don't take care of yourself, then your wife and your kids is going to be forced to take care of you because you didn't take care of yourself. And that's a lot of pressure and emotional pain and psychological pain that they don't have to go through if you just work out 45 minutes a few times a week and change the food you're putting in your mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm really proud for you for taking action on that.
Thanks. I'm kind of proud of myself. It feels uncomfortable to say that, but I am. I'm proud of the work I've done and really looking forward to the next several months because I've got a lot of work to do yet. But I'm confident that I can do it, which I haven't always been confident that I could get to where I want to get to. So it's really nice to be at that place.
Yeah. Well, you've been accumulating your wins as you've been progressing. Like 22 pounds is a huge milestone. And that's why I'm happy that we're recording the podcast now, because then when you're at the end of your transformation, we can re-record an episode and you can compare the two of them of like, oh, this is how I thought when I was in the 22-pound fat loss. Those were like the habits I remember I had, and it's going to be completely different at the end. So it's nice to have a little documentation of your journey.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. And so from the moment that you started in the program, I'm curious, what are the things that allowed you to get some quick wins and to start building momentum towards like now being down 22 pounds?
So I think the things that really allowed for me to find some success early on were mostly not to try and tackle the entire program, just to simply say, let's just get started with things. So I didn't have to do the entire workout the first day. I just had to get to the workout. And then once I was there, the rest of it unfolded for itself. So instead of trying to tackle, if I get to where I want to, I'm going to probably lose in the neighborhood of 100 pounds from where I was at my peak. So not all of that has to happen in the next year because I've already done some of it before I even started the program. But that's a lot still. I still probably have a solid 40 pounds to go in terms of where I'd like to get to on the program. And so it's been really helpful to, instead of saying, I got to do it all right now, I just have to do the next thing. Just pick up the next thing and do that. And that attitude, which I think really gets reinforced by the program, has been very helpful for me to keep that focus. The meal plans provide such a solid basis of just, here's what you need to do. And I get a little bit intimidated sometimes when I see a new recipe and I start thinking, oh, this is so complicated. But then when I really look at them, I realize, oh, these are actually not that complicated, but they're really good. It's really fairly simple to do the things. I mean, I'm not a chef by any stretch, but I've been able to make everything that I've wanted to make on the program. It's been really helpful. And as somebody who's never done strength training in the past, it's been really helpful to have the programmed workouts that are detailed specifically for me and that are available on the app. So I can just bring my phone with me when I go into the gym and just follow along, but with exactly what's on there. There's enough flexibility, to modify some of the exercises if I need to. And, I'm really working on my upper body strength is still pretty bad. So I'm really looking forward to
getting better.
continuing to improve that. So, there's a little bit of modification that has to happen sometimes. But that's part of what I can do. And I can choose the weights I want to choose. It's not like I've given up control over what I'm doing to you all, but I'm getting the support from you and from Coach Sarah and Coach Nicole to really help me to know what it is I need to do to get to the next step, the next phase, the next goal.
Yeah. Hearing you talk makes me really happy because I can tell that you have that long-term vision inside of you of where you want to go. You're not necessarily sprinting, trying to get it done in the next 3 months. I can feel, and from our first conversation, you want this to last, right? Because you had talked about you having tried multiple times before, and I don't think necessarily people have like a fat loss problem because I'm sure you've lost a bunch of weight a few times in your life, but then it's like, how do you keep it off and then like sustain that after? And that takes that long-term vision, because if you have the short-term vision, you develop habits that are going to allow you to get there in the short term, but they're not sustainable. Like you can't do those approaches forever. So you talked about being new to like strength training and working out. So I'm curious, what were you doing before when you tried to lose the weight?
I would do only aerobic stuff. It's been mostly walking in the last several years. About 12 years ago, I did a weight loss program and had a fair amount of success on it, and used some running at that time and really enjoyed it. I had been a runner in high school, and that's something that I really like to do. But in the end, it didn't get me where I wanted to go. It was a nice tool to have, and it's great to be able to do it for the pleasure of doing it. But I realized that strength training was a missing component to what I was doing. I don't know if you know that I was sick last week, and so I wasn't able to get my workouts in, but I was able to go this morning, and I went, oh wow, I missed this. I really I missed being able to do the workout, and it was enjoyable to do, which I would not have said 5 months ago that I would enjoy getting into the gym and getting a little sweaty, but I really did.
Yeah, once you get through the initial phase of your body adapting and kind of getting familiar with the pain that you experience post strength training, there's a bit of an addiction feeling to it. You're like, oh, this feels good to have had the blood flow going, like you feel strong.
Yeah.
So I'm curious then, from your previous fat loss from doing cardio to now including strength training, do you notice a difference in your body, in your energy, and your overall strength?
Yeah, I mean, for sure in my overall strength. We took a vacation at the end of September with some friends, and we were in Sedona, Arizona, and we did a little bit of hiking up some mountains there. And as we got to the top, my friends were breathing kind of hard, and were struggling a little bit at the top, and I realized, oh wait, I'm not. I wasn't. I felt really like strong as I took big steps up the rocks as we went up to the top of the mountain, and it was like, wow. I recognized then that there was a lot of growth that my body had gone through over the last 3 months to get to the place where that was not the challenge that it would have been a year before that. It was really it was really enjoyable to feel that strength again. So I do believe that I'm going to be at a point, if I'm not actually there already, where I'll be stronger than I've really ever been in my life, which is kind of enjoyable to get to that place in middle age. I guess it's never too late, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's something that every human has to experience to see what the human body can do. Right? I feel like everyone has to experience that at least once in their life, to see the strength that you can have, the energy that you can have, and it's never too late to experience that. And, like you hiking in Sedona, which I was a beautiful, beautiful place, great energy there. I was there like almost a year ago.
Oh, cool.
That's just the beginning, right? There's going to be more moments like that. And the cool part is when you're strength training in the gym, you don't really see it because you see maybe like, oh, I can add 2.5 pounds on this exercise now, or I can add an extra, 2 reps to this set. But then when you translate it to real life, your friend asks you to move something, and then you like lift a freezer, and you're like, oh my god, this is easy.
Yeah.
You go up a really long flight of stairs, and you're like, my legs don't hurt, and I'm okay, right? When you start to bring awareness to those little things in your day-to-day life, you actually notice the difference compared to how you used to operate before, or how things used to tire you out before.
For sure. Yeah, I think I mentioned on the last group call that next summer I'm hoping to do a wilderness camping trip that requires a lot of lifting of canoes and portaging them over the rough and rocky portages, and then a lot of paddling. And I'm really looking forward to feeling really strong during all of that. It'll be a really nice experience to have that strength for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to do that trip. I think it's gonna be an awesome trip.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So I'm curious, is there anything that you learned since you've been in the program that you didn't know before about health, about transforming your body and changing your body composition? Was there new knowledge that was acquired?
It's interesting because I feel like there's a lot of the things that are talked about that I knew. I kind of knew what I was supposed to be doing to eat right, and I kind of knew what I needed to be doing to get stronger. But it wasn't happening. And I think that the biggest thing that's been different is getting help with getting my mind straight on how to approach all of this. And it's just getting comfortable with the fact that this is it's a period of practice for me too, that I'm practicing all of these skills so that when I'm done with the program, I'll be able to keep doing it all on my own, because I really will have learned and I'll know what I need to do. I think it's been less about learning new bits of information and more about being able to bring it all together in a way that I just wasn't able to bring it all together on my own.
Yeah, and it's beautifully put. We talk a lot about it on the group calls too, right? Mindset, how it's the foundation of your transformation. Training, nutrition, we tell you how to do it. And after a while, it's kind of, Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, you kind of figure out like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to eat and structure my meals. This is how I'm supposed to work out. This is what a full strength session looks like. But at the end of the day, if we can't get the mind to see the longer picture and commit to those daily actions, then ultimately when the program ends, you'll just revert back to, I know what to do, but I'm not doing anything about it. And I appreciate the honesty, because at the end of the day, there's no big secret. We're here. We take care of training nutrition, which is pretty straightforward and simple. It's just those little tweaks as you progress to make sure you don't plateau. But the big part of the work is your willingness to do the mindset work, because it's not easy to deal with yourself when you want to eat, for example, pizza, and you're not supposed to, when you don't want to do the workout and you go and do it. Like, that's not everyone's willing to do the internal work to be like, I'm not going to do the thing that I shouldn't be doing, and I'm going to do the thing that I know I should be doing. Like, that's the hard part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So what's been the most valuable tool that you've learned so far, or that has helped you lose the 22 pounds so far and continue you in the right direction? Is it the group calls, the weekly check-ins, the check-ins with Coach Sarah? Like, what is the thing that's helped you out the most?
That's really a difficult question to answer, because it's hard to tease them apart and say, this is the one thing that's made all the difference. The one thing that's really resonating in my mind is the phrase that you've used to teach us in various group calls of taking imperfect action. I'm the kind of guy who likes to wait until it's all just right, and I know exactly where I'm going with something in order to get started, because you don't want to get started and then find out you don't know where you're going. But I don't know exactly how to know where I'm going, and so I need to just get started. And so having that help with that mindset shift has been huge. I tend to use perfectionism as procrastination, and so having somebody who can tell me, no, it's not about taking a perfect action, it's just about taking action, get moving. That's been super helpful to hear, and I we've heard it repeatedly from all of you in the coaching. I had dinner with a work colleague the other week, and I mentioned it to her, and she's been repeating it to herself since then. So you're having ripples out there as you awesome. Pass things on to us. It gets passed on to others, and you know, that ability to affect more lives than what you're affecting directly is something that's kind of cool to watch.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. It really makes me happy. I like to dive into that a little bit because I feel I agree with you. Perfectionism can be used as a form of procrastination big time. Yeah. I used to be like that, and I still sometimes fall back into it. There's something you want to do, and if you're not aware that that's what you're doing, you're just going to, you know, continue repeating the pattern. And so it's really hard to bring attention to, okay, I'm using perfectionism as a way to procrastinate and not start this thing that I know will be hard for me to take on. Right. So did you feel like you were taking, and or just complete transparency, did you feel like you're taking perfect action or imperfect action when you started the program?
I guess I would have said, you know, retrospectively, if I look at it, it was the absolute right step for me to take. And so in that sense, it was perfect. Yeah. But I was really not sure 100% that I had made the right decision when we got started. I was really excited. I knew I needed to do something. I thought this was probably it, but if I would have let myself fall back on my typical way of doing things, I would have said, no, I'm not going to make this commitment right now. I'll think about it for a while longer and then figure out whether it was the right thing to do. And I didn't. I said, no, let's take this plunge. And even though I don't know exactly where it's all going and how it's all going to work, I think I trust that this is going to be the thing I need. And so let's just do it. So it was a little bit of the taking the imperfect action in the sense of don't wait till you know it's perfect, more than it was that the action was imperfect. It's more about not waiting around for that 100% I know exactly where I need to go next move. And so I think that's maybe the way I would think about that.
Yeah, because I was going to ask, like, what bridged a gap between the uncertainty and the overthinking, and then you actually joining and committing to it? Like, what was it in the middle that bridged that gap? Was it like, I don't know, like I've tried this for a very long time, we're at a place in my life of like something needs to change? Like, what was it that for you convinced you to take this imperfect action? Because I would consider it an imperfect action because you didn't necessarily know what the blueprint would look like after, right? There was just trust that we've done this over 500 times and that we've chatted. So I'm curious, like, what bridged that gap for you?
I think it ultimately was the call that we had for the initial consulting call. And during the course of that conversation, I realized that I honestly, it was that I realized you didn't have to take me on as a client. You didn't have to choose to become my coach. Mm-hmm. And somewhere along the way, I realized I really wanted you to. And that really deep-seated desire, I still don't know 100% what it was cueing in on, because I didn't feel myself over the last several months going, gosh, you know what I need is a coach. I need that. But something in that conversation made me realize that is what I need. And I'm really glad we had that conversation.
Me too.
I bet I would have had it regardless of who I talked to, but I really appreciate that it was you that helped me get that initial kickstart on getting going on this.
Yeah. Well, I'm really happy we had that conversation too. I want to share this with you because it came into my life this morning. I have a Tony Robbins coach. Like, I've been open to have different mentors.
Yes.
And we're doing an exercise, and there's always the thinking mind, right? With the overthinker, the perfectionist, things that are limiting you. And he was asking me to do an exercise, and I was like, I can't wrap my brain around what is the right step of action for me to take here. He's like, put your hands on your chest, and then he's like, think of something you're grateful for, a time where you were excited. And he brought me through a bunch of different times. And then he just reframed the question that he originally asked me that I couldn't answer. And I was like, bam, bam, bam. Here's a solution. They just came out. And he's like, that's what your heart wants. That's what you should do. And then he told me there's a book called The Heart Math, MATH. where the heart has its own thinking process. And I didn't read the book yet. I'm going to go and buy it. But I thought that was really interesting when, when we were on the call together. I think your heart was like, I need to do this. And then the mind goes the overthinking of like, well, I've tried this before, this or that. Like, will it work? Will I be able to stick to it? Like a lot of things start to bubble up. Yeah. And so I'm really, I say proud of you again for following your heart, because your body was telling you like, this is something that you need to do.
Wow. I like that. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm going to look into the book. If it's good, I'll tell you it's good, and then you can read it if you want to.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. So, Thomas, I want to talk like bigger picture, because again, this is Fit Vegan success story episodes. We're down 22 pounds. What is the bigger picture of where you want to live in the future? Like, how much weight have you lost? How do you feel? Let's just put it out there, embody it. And then it's extra accountability because it's recorded.
Yeah. So, I'm right about now, lower weight that I've seen on the scale in memory. I mean, I know I was less in high school. At some point after high school, I got more than that. And I don't know exactly when, but it's at least 25 years. And so, that's a great place to be. But I think, like I said earlier, if I want to get to where I think I need to get to, it's probably another 40 pounds. So I'm probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 pounds away from being halfway through my weight loss journey with Fit Vegan. It's a little hard to know exactly if that's the right place to end up, because I don't know what my body will be like with musculature, with actual some strength built up. So it'll we'll see where that ends up. But when I get there, there's some things I know that I'll be able to do that I can't do well right now. I want to be able to run more, and I'm running a bit, but I need to keep building that up over time.
What's the distance?
To run the Twin Cities Marathon in when I'm 57, so in another 3 years. And that's the age that my grandfather passed away from a heart attack, and his father passed away from a heart attack. My father actually had a heart attack that same year. So I'd like to sort of mark that milestone with a running of that marathon. Don't have any delusions into thinking I'll be like fast or anything, but just to do it would be a cool experience. And then I'd really like for the next 20 years of my life to be very active and be able to, 30 years, more than that, maybe even, to be really active and be able to travel and hike and do the things that we've dreamt of doing in retirement, and not be hampered by my health as I go into that. So I'm looking forward to continuing to move in the direction of being able to do all that.
That's beautiful. I feel like that's the part that people miss when they set goals. It's always like there's a specific number, but it's like, how are you going to feel? What are the things that you want to be able to do?
Yeah.
And if I can let you in on a secret, Thomas, you can run the marathon next year if you want to. I've no doubt that we can get you ready for a marathon in 1 year. I understand the milestone of doing it at 57, so that's great. We'll make sure that you finish it fast at 57.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Because it's one thing to like finish it, and then another thing to like go as fast as you can and like hit your record. So we'll definitely get you there. I'm a big believer that the human body can accomplish whatever you want as long as you give it enough time and specific training for it to get there. And the lighter you're going to be, obviously, the easier it's going to be on your joints, and it's going to make a huge difference in terms of like joint health for the long term.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I always like to ask this: what made you want to work with me specifically beside the podcast? Because a big part of people's concern when they're listening to the podcast, like when you did the first time, it's like, this is online. We've never met in person, which I would love to, right? I would love to come down to your race when you're going to race it. But what made you want to work with someone online versus someone in person?
I think part of it, a big part of why I was interested in your program versus any others is that your focus is on whole food, plant-based nutrition. That it's in my mind, you're doing the nutrition right, and that was sort of a table stakes for me. I needed to know that was going to be taken care of. I think the idea of working with somebody online was something that I had been thinking about doing for a while. My family actually gave me some Christmas money towards some coaching last Christmas, and I didn't really know what to do with it. I looked at a couple of different online programs, and the focus of them was on sort of it was almost like too much accountability, like set up the camera and you're going to watch me do the workout and things like that. And that wasn't really what I was looking for. I was looking for somebody who could give me the structure and give me the guidance and support. And that's what I think I saw in your program. To be really honest, in some of the podcasts I listened to, there was such a tremendous amount of compassion that you had, and caring that you had in the way you approached it, that I just realized that you're the kind of person that I'd like to have guide me. And I'm really happy that I have gotten to get to know you a little bit, because that caring and compassion is the kind of thing I'd like to emulate in my life. And so I like to be around people who have figured that out already. So, and it comes through whether you're online or in person. I feel like that comes through all the time. So I appreciate that. That's how you approach your life.
Oh, thank you. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that and saying that. It means a lot. Definitely, as you know, from the group calls, pour my heart and soul into every member, and I want everyone to win. It is my biggest stressor, is I want everyone to succeed. Thomas, I always like to ask at the end if there's anyone that's listening that is in your shoes before you got started, right? What is words of wisdoms or things that you've learned over the past few months that you'd like to pass on to them?
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing is you're worth it. It's not selfish to want to do this. You're actually caring for others by taking care of yourself. And don't wait till you feel like you have it all figured out. Just take action. Take imperfect action to get started on the path. And you'll figure it out, and you'll succeed.
How fast did you progress once you started taking imperfect action versus when you waited for the perfect moment or for everything to be aligned to take action?
Yeah, I mean, it was fairly immediate. The getting going on the program, I've seen this, steady continued decrease in my weight and then steady increase in my strength. The timing of joining was right about the time where I kind of kept stalling out over the last couple of years, where I would have that initial success and then kind of get stuck. And I didn't get stuck this time. I broke through, and I've continued to improve steadily. It's not lightning fast, but that's partially just who I am right now, and that's okay. It's okay if it took me a long time to get this out of shape, and so it'll take me a little while to get in shape, and that's just okay. And I have a lot of years left to enjoy that being in shape, and so it's all right that it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. Well, I also want to preserve your muscle mass, right? We're going slow and steady so we can preserve your muscle mass. So that
absolutely.
Because a lot of people, they have a lot of weight to lose, and then they do it really fast, but they lose a lot of muscle. So when they get to the weight that they want, they don't look the way that they actually thought they would. They're a lot skinnier than they thought they would. So that's why we go slow and steady, so that when you're done, you get the muscles showing, the shoulders, the arms. So yes.
I almost think I saw like shoulder definition this morning when I was getting dressed. It was like, hey, how about that? That's maybe coming on. So
shoulder striation. Those are a good feeling. Awesome. Well, Thomas, I just say massive thank you for taking the time to jump on the podcast. Thank you for taking the imperfect action, right? I really hope that this, and I'm sure you already implementing it, applies to other areas of life. I was a big perfectionist like you, and if you take an imperfect action, you get feedback. You learn how to move forward with that feedback. You take another imperfect action, you get feedback. And that's literally all your journey's been, right? We started your plan, your body gave us feedback, we tweaked, and then we kept progressing, and now you're down 22 pounds.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to be until you get to your goal. And then that applies to other areas too.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. It's practicing skills that have application far beyond just my fitness.
Yeah. It is the foundation to a good life, which is why I love, if you have the ability and the discipline to transform your body, it applies to relationship, to career, to anything else.
For
because
sure.
you've already shown yourself that you can like master yourself. And then if you can master yourself, then everything else becomes a lot easier.
Excellent.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Thomas, massive thank you for taking the time to jump on the podcast. Just any last words of wisdom you'd like to share with the audience or the members that are listening?
I'm on the spot. I have no idea. Take imperfect action. How about that?
Okay, perfect. I love it. Awesome. And for everyone that is listening that would like some more information, there's a link down below where you can book your free consultation call, the same call that Thomas jumped on, and now he's down 22 pounds and is learning to master his body. And so, yeah, head over down there, book your free call. And Thomas, again, massive thank you for jumping on the show.
Thanks, Max.